This lesson is on simple interest. So interest is the amount of money paid or earned for the use of money by a bank or other financial institution. So it works both ways. If you were to put money into a savings account in a bank, the bank is going to pay you interest on that money. So they're going to give you some money, a very small amount, but they're going to give you some for leaving your money in their bank. The other side of that is that if you borrow money from the bank, then they're going to charge you interest and you're going to have to pay back the money you borrowed plus some more. And the interest when you pay them back is much higher than the interest that they pay you. So banks are a business and that's how they make money. When you put your money in the bank doesn't just stick it in a safe and leave it there. The bank takes your money and gives it to other people and loans it to other people. So they're using your money to make money. Now, simple interest is exactly that. It's simple. It's not what is used by the banking system. What's used by the banking system is compound interest. But in order to understand the idea of interest, we first talk about what's called simple interest, and then later on you'll learn about what compound interest is. So let's look at how to find out what simple interest is. So if you look at this, the I in this stands for, hopefully you figured it out, the I stands for interest. And again, that's the money that you owe the bank or the money that the bank pays you for keeping your money there. The P stands for what's called principal. And principal is the amount borrowed, so how much you borrowed from the bank, or it's the amount saved. So the amount borrowed or saved. So if I put $100 in my savings account in the bank, I have $100 in principal. If I borrow $100 from the bank, that's $100 in principal. All right, so it's the amount you borrow or it's the amount that you save. And the R stands for rate. Interest is done as a rate. It's a percentage. So a little special note here, percent written as a decimal. So the rate is the percent written as a decimal. So your bank, if you put money in your savings account, they might pay you 1% interest. So they're going to give you 1% of whatever you put in there as a fee. So they're going to give you extra money because you're putting your money there and letting them use it. Now, if you borrow money from them, they might charge you a rate of 10%. So they're charging a much higher rate than what they're giving to people. And again, a bank is a business. That's how they make money. And the T stands for time, and the time has to be in years. So the longer you leave your money in the bank, the more interest you earn. And conversely, the longer you take to pay back the bank, if you borrow money from them, the more interest you're going to pay. So time is a component of interest. So let's look at a couple examples here. How much interest will she have to pay after 4 years and 3 months? Sorry, I missed the question up here. Marcia borrowed $8,975 at a 4.9% interest rate. So let's look at what we're trying to find here. How much interest? So what we're looking for is the I. We don't know what that is. The P, which stands for the principal, that's the amount borrowed, is $8,975. The rate is the interest rate, and it's 4.9%. But remember, the rate has to be expressed as a decimal. So you got to change the percent in a decimal. Remember, to do that, either divide it by 100 or move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So if I divide 4.9 by 100, I get 0.049. And the time is how long she borrows the money for. And it says 4 years and 3 months. So remember, the time has to be in years. So how do we change 3 months into years? Well, there's 12 months in a year, so the time would be 4 and 3/12 years. So I have my principal, the amount that I borrowed, the rate, and then I have to change that into a decimal, divide it by 100, and then the time in years. If they give you the time in months, just divide it by 12. All right, so the interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. So when you have these letters, I forgot to mention this on the last slide, these letters next to each other mean multiplication in algebra. So this is principal times rate times time. So the principal is 8,975. The rate written as a decimal is 0.049. And the time is 4 and 3/12. And so you might have noticed that 3/12 could be simplified to 1/4. So if you want to do that, that's fine. If you're using a calculator, then it really doesn't matter if you simplify it or not. If you're going to do it by hand and not use a calculator, then it would make your life easier to simplify that to 4 and 1/4. So 8,975 times 0.049 times 4 and 3/12. And what I get is, this is money, this is how much interest she's going to have to pay, is $1,869, and then there's a bunch of decimals that come after that. Now this is money, so money, you can only have 2 numbers after the decimal, so I underline the second number, I look to the right. There's a 3, 4 or less, I keep this. 5 or above, I increase this by 1. So my final answer is that the interest is $1,869.04. So she borrowed $8,975 from the bank. She has to pay that back, the $8,975, but she also has to pay them an additional $1,869.04 in interest. Again, I said a bank is a business. This is how they make money. So they're not going to just give you some money and let you pay them back whenever you feel like it. They're going to charge you interest for every year that you take to pay that back. So some of the questions you see will just ask you, how much interest does the person have to pay? Some of the questions will say, well, how much do they owe the bank in total? So if you look at this second question here, it says, how much total will she have to pay after 4 years and 3 months? She's going to have to pay back what she borrowed, the 8,975, plus the interest. So this is the total that she's going to have to pay. So if you have lots of cash and you don't have to borrow money from a bank, you can save yourself lots of money. Whenever you borrow money to buy something, it's going to cost you something. So let me add these together. And what I get is, again, I'm going to get a long decimal here. No, I don't. Sorry. 10,800 and, sorry. I'm saying sorry a lot. Let's back this up. But $10,844.04. So she bought a car that cost $8,975, but because she didn't have enough money to buy it, and she had to borrow some money from the bank, she really ends up paying this amount, $10,844.04. All right, so that's simple interest.